Awesome! The new 2nd Gen Ryzen is here. I got the brand new 2700X. It already sounds broken. That's okay. And I got my dip. Because I hear this is an amazing chip. Can't wait to give it a shot. Ooh, come here, baby.
Wait! No!
PC Godmother?
Father!
Let's screw that up.
Okay.
Thanks for the heart attack. What's wrong?
Thanks for almost eating a processor. That's not where that goes.
It's a chip!
Yeah, a processor. CPU, Central Processing Unit, chip, whatever you want to call it.
So if it's not for noms, what's it for?
It's for playing and working and all sorts of probably vascular inappropriate things, but that's besides the point. Do you see that box to your left?
Yeah, but this, okay, yeah.
Open it.
Well, don't you think I should probably get the chip, the not eating chip?
If you didn't kill it yet.
Well, it's me. I mean, how could this go wrong? Okay, we probably need to clean that, but still. So what do I do with this thing?
Well, first, you're going to pop open the socket cover. Then you're going to place the chip inside.
It's AMD. It's AMD. How are you PC Godmother if you don't know that there's no socket cover on AMD?
Father! PC Godfather, please.
Well, if you're PC Godfather, you would know this stuff.
Can you just put the processor in the board? After you take it out of the box.
It's not working.
It's because you have to open it out of the box first.
Okay, but what's that going to do?
It's going to make sense.
PCs are supposed to be easy to build.
Right? None of this makes sense.
You're right. None of this does make sense. We're going to open this thing up, and we'll show you guys the new Ryzen 2 coming here shortly. All right, now that the PC Godmothers let us know exactly what to do with our chips, turns out nom chips, PC chips, two completely different things, tomato to me, but I guess, you know, eating silicon, not so fun. So now we have the 2nd generation Ryzen, or Ryzen 2. There are some pretty cool benefits in this. One of them being the new core architecture with the Zen Plus. This allows for new XFR and Precision Boost 2, which allows us to go much higher speeds. So therefore, we're previously, let's say something like the 1800X on the original Ryzen, would go right about 4 gigahertz when it's boosting, and once you boosted more than 2 to 3 cores, it would drop right down to about 3.7 and sit there. However, what we've observed on 2nd generation Ryzen is the fact that XFR and all that will actually keep it up above 4 gigahertz in most cases, as long as you have adequate cooling and power in place, up at 4+ gigahertz all the time. So that's an awesome performance boost, along with much better IPC performance based on your much more better latencies on your different caches. Your shared level 3 cache has a much better latency. Level 2 cache has about a 30% approximate boost, and all that stuff. Not to mention, there's a better, the IMC definitely feels a lot better on this chip. The overall frequency availability for memory, the memory compatibility feels much better, especially for this being so early on the X470 boards. It's been a huge plus. Now we're going to cut away to one of our charts we made. This is showing the memory performance as far as read, write, copy, along with your latency. You're going to notice there's a massive latency drop on both X370 and X470. Both of these have going from original Ryzen, like a 1700X, which is what we compared the 2700X to, because it's kind of apples to apples comparison. So when you take that, you'll notice that the benchmarks for read and write are a bit better. But more than anything, the latency has dropped by a large margin. We're talking going from the 70s to 60s. That's pretty big when you're talking overall latency of the system. So that's a really cool one. Now beyond that, also the JEDEC speed has been increased to 2933. So that means higher speed memory is a given. And we've tested 3400, above 3200. Previously, Ryzen was really iffy when it first launched, even hitting 3000. Now we're talking 3200, 3400, even higher, depending on exactly what kind of chips you have. Obviously, for those of you out there looking to overclock and go a little crazy on memory, Samsung B-Die is a must. I can tell you that straight out. We've tested a lot of kits. It's definitely going to give you your best chance of success. Now, that being said, we also have the CCX, the core complexes. Previously, we had the 4 per CCX, and 2 of them would communicate over the Infinity Fabric. Still the same thing here. The thing is, now the CCX, we have 32K of level 1 cache, 512 KB of level 2, and 8 megabytes of shared across all 4 cores on that CCX. They all communicate via that pipeline or via the Infinity Fabric. That means the high-speed memory is even more important because that's supported by your memory speed. That's like your overall bus, basically. So that's how it's going to talk. There's also some really cool stuff that you can also accomplish. Something that I didn't mention about XFR is based on your thermals, if you have an awesome cooler, you can unlock this chip to go really high. Beyond just normal overclocking, the chip will overclock itself. That's one thing with Ryzen. Overall, they made a brand new core, and a lot of people criticize the overclocking capability. At the end of the day, they simply didn't leave a lot of room on the table as far as pushing it further. You can push all cores to like your max turbo boost speed. Figure all cores on these chips, you're going to be seeing about 4.2. That's roughly what I've seen from the sample size I've had from a cross section of that. But beyond that, you also have the capability of just leaving it alone. The thing runs awesome straight out of the box without having to overclock it. It basically boosts itself up even with all core loading. It's not like most chips where you get a really low or even base clock at all cores. Now with the new XFR2, it really does do really well at boosting itself up and just giving you awesome gaming performance along with compute performance. Then we have some of the new technology in the Ryzen 2, one of them being Store MI. Now, I'm usually not one for the big like marketing fluff and things like that, but Store MI is kind of cool. It's something similar to what Intel has done with the SSD caching, except there is no limitations. You can use any SSD with any drive and boost its performance overall. And I've tested this a bit with some hard drives, got some really impressive results where it can cache a much larger storage volume, and the hot data stored on the SSD allows it to basically respond much quicker. You can even use Intel Optane drives on Store MI, which is awesome. So if you are going to the Ryzen platform, you can use that super high-speed 3D crosspoint memory with Store MI to boost a hard drive just like you would on an Intel platform. That's a pretty big advantage to be able to give yourself a large game storage volume and have it boosted with SSD-like performance for things you use very common. Now, if you're constantly playing all different games, this might not be the perfect thing for you, but it is a cool option nonetheless. And the other thing is Ryzen Master has actually been improved so that you can actually overclock per CCX, so per core complex. So if you have one set of cores that work much better, you can overclock those over the other ones to be able to give yourself even better finite control of your system to give you the maximum performance possible. Now there is one more cool thing in this AMD box that comes with this CPU. This is the Wraith Prism. This is even another step above the previous Wraith Max Cooler, where you can see it has a full copper base. So this thing is heat pipes, copper base, made to handle all the heat that this will give it, along with it has your standard 4-pin PWM, and it has a USB for motherboard connection, so you can download software to control the RGB ring and lighting into the fan, which the fan blades actually light up. It looks actually really cool. Or you have a 4-pin header, so you can hook it at the end of a lighting kit, like if you order a Ryzen 2 system from us, maybe you have an internal lighting kit, or of course most motherboards like the one here, all have on board now. You have, Mystic Light or ASUS Aura. All those things allow you to adjust your RGB. Well, you have an RGB 4-pin header that plugs directly into the cooler and allows you to control that so it syncs with your motherboard and all your other case lighting. So that's a pretty awesome option beyond the awesome cooling performance, along with being not super loud even when you crank this thing up. It has a switch right here from low to high, so you can actually set a high fan speed profile. So if you're trying to do a little overclocking, trying to see how far it'll go, that'll do it. But if you're really looking to push these things, I recommend an AIO cooler just so you have that headroom, and XFR will give you maximum advantage of your available performance. Now, one last thing before we go. Let's go ahead and dive into a few more charts and discuss some of the performance potential we saw. Now, if you see that happens? This is what happens when you don't put your motherboard on a stand and you lean it against a box. But I digress. We're going to take this, we're going to set it back up. Okay. Apparently I did a thing, so we're just going to leave that the way it is. Now you can see my notes. So, with that being said, we have a couple different things representing gaming, representing compute performance and things like that. Let's say you want to see all the different testing. So we did a whole swath of testing. We did pages and pages. And the young lady standing behind the camera looked at that and said, "That is going to be extremely boring if you video that." So I said, fine, we'll write a blog post, we'll put it all in there. So if you want to see more testing beyond what I'm about to show you, take a look in our description. As long as the young lady behind the camera puts it in the description, we will have a link to the blog. And that will have all the testing you can imagine, and we'll even update it with more as things go. Maybe even put a Google Drive link there with all of our results so you guys can compare as you build your own Ryzen 2 system. Or if you decide to get an AVADirect Ryzen 2 system, just don't blame me if your scores are better, because figure with firmware advances, you're probably going to get a little better performance. So, taking a look at my notes here, Yes, Ryzen 2 beats Ryzen 1. We know that. But X370 boards, they are compatible. You can take a Ryzen 2 chip, drop it in your existing X370 board, as long as you have the newest firmware so that it will support the chip, it will work out of the box. Any AM4 motherboard should work. But just understand, AM4 motherboards have a lot better capability of holding the higher XFR values, which means you're going to get better performance overall versus the X370 boards. Those boards will still do it, but figure you'll probably end up manually pushing it to get a lot more relative performance versus getting X470 that's simply out of the box is going to basically make this chip kick ass straight out. So that being said, we tested it with a 1080 Ti on the board, on this same exact board, Crosshair 7, thank you Roman numerals, Crosshair VII, Hero. We tested that on the 5002, 5005 BIOS, the newest one, which is why we had to cut some of our testing short. And we saw a pretty big scale, even jumping from 2700X on X370 to 2700X on X470. We went from a fire strike score of 20,670 all the way to 21,408. But overall, the physics, which is based on your CPU, went from 20,515 to 21,977. Then we jump down to Time Spy, which is a DX12 benchmark, and you'll notice your CPU score jumps from 9242 to 9666. Then we have a Blender one, which is going to be pretty popular for you guys. We have, let's take 1700X, which is 99.56. That's the time it takes to render out an image, which is the BMW benchmark, so everyone should be familiar with. Then we take it to 2700X on X370. You're talking 86.07. Take it to X470, 83.54. That's where you can see same memory, same everything, different motherboard allows it to hold XFR longer. You're knocking out that same amount of work 3 seconds less. Maybe that's not a big deal for you, but if you're doing this kind of productivity work, time is money. So that's going to pay for itself. I'm not going to do Cinebench because, that's obviously everyone's favorite one and it shines great. We'll have that in our blog. And then you take things like, let's say, memory, something I mentioned already. Our testing, the original 1700X on X370, latency was about 74.2 nanoseconds. You take the same thing, same motherboard, X370 with the 2700X, 68 nanoseconds. And then X470, 68.2. So as you can see, you dropped several nanoseconds by itself just because it has better overall memory performance, better IMC in my opinion, just overall better compatibility. Memory performance is just amazing. Now I think with that, I've bored you into enough charts. If you want to check out a lot more charts, feel free to take a look down in our description. Take a look at the blog. We'll have tons of information there, probably more than you'll ever want to see, but it's all going to be there for you guys to check out. Okay, and I promised you there's going to be no more charts. So what did we learn? We learned one thing, which is always put your motherboard on a stand or you end up like me, where it falls down right in the middle of your video shoot and you don't care and you just keep going. And number 2, you learn what PC Godmother always tells you. CPU chips are for compute, not for noms. If you're looking forward to some great content coming out of our team here at AVADirect, please join us on our social media channels such as Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and be sure to like and subscribe to this channel so you get notifications when we upload brand new videos to get you the newest in tech every day.